Hello, everybody. Saturday night, woo, woo, or Sunday morning, or wherever you all live, John Arvos is here. Hello. Welcome all. It is exactly Saturday night, at least in Washington, D.C., where I am. Let me get TikTok started here as well. And we will get rolling in a minute. Oops, let me clean my, there we go, my TikTok camera. Nice. Put on my TikTok microphone, which is always nice as well. Manda Bear, greetings, just as I get my mic on. Woo! Hey, everybody. Welcome back. As always, give a little shout out from where you're from, if you would. Hey, John Sarge. Welcome to Wales. Exactly. That way you keep me in. You and Johnny, I always get confused who's from Wales. Oh, but yeah, guys, give a little hello of where you're from, if you would, because we usually wait a couple minutes just for folks to show up. And yeah, I did a chat this afternoon that actually Yulia, a Ukrainian TikToker, had put together, and we hosted a Ukrainian historian talking about Crimea, which is very interesting, the history from there. And then I ditched out so I could start preparing this. So I've done a lot of stuff. Next weekend, we're back to the normal time. So we'll be back to 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Paris, 11 a.m. Pacific. Today was unique because Yulia had her panel discussion and she asked me to host it. And I got to flip the camera. So that was why we had to do later, because I was on an hour and a half on another panel. Oops, let me rotate you guys. There we go. Mirrored. Oh boy. You got a YouTube notification out of TikTok. Yeah, there's a surprise. I think YouTube is clearly more helpful in this regard, but you know. Early morning, you heard explosions in West Odessa. Ugh, sorry. Ukraino. By the way, Ukraino is clearly from Ukraine. Give a little hello, folks, on TikTok, if you would. Also, who's in Odessa? And unfortunately, had to hear some explosions this morning, which is not good news. Oh, what else? Anyway, yeah, we start in a couple minutes. I mean, this is the soft start, but we wait 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 3, just so TikTok and YouTube can notify folks to come in. Thank you, Oklahoma, for my little hat. Exactly. Keep tapping the screen on TikTok if you can. You never know. Might help. And Ukraino, you're also getting lots of sunflowers over here as well, which is nice to. Oops, there we go. I'm not doing this very well. There we go. Lots of sunflowers over on, am I even? Yeah, there you go. Lots of sunflowers over on YouTube as well. So, but yeah, good. I was glad to see a number of you showed up at Yulia's chat today. That was nice of you. Help her out. Anyway, yeah. So like I said, things are fine here. I'm just kind of tired. It was a long day. Glad you guys enjoyed it, but after doing an hour and a half, I get tired. And of course, it gets my asthma going too, doing the chatting. So chatting twice in a day is not great for me, but what do you do? I'm on the strong medicine now. It's better. It ain't perfect. It's better. So hopefully over time, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Hang on, putting on my fan to cool the apartment down a little bit. All right, there we go. Anyway, so what else? We got about another minute before we start, just to let folks filter in. Annette, Denmark. See, there you go. See, you know me. I'm not so good at remembering those details about who's from where. Yulia is her. You can Google her YouTube if you want to. It's recorded, the talk. Her YouTube name is YEWLEEA. So excuse me, am I missing an E? Yulia? That's right, isn't it? Am I wrong here? Yulia, YEWLEEA? Somebody tell me. One of her regulars needs to correct me on that. Yeah, Syndicate just posted it in on YouTube. Hopefully you guys have it there. All right. Well, so I'm going to get rolling. As always, I start with the news. We do a daily news summary on what's going on in Ukraine for the last 24 hours. And then we switch it to question and answer with you guys. And that's pretty much it. So the way we do the questions is, and it's a little bit different on each system, and TikTok recently changed it, which was really lousy of TikTok. But on TikTok now, the best way to do it is to go to the Q&A on my profile page, because they got rid of the Q&A on my page because they're evil. Let me just show you this on the profile real quick. So there you go. There's my profile page, and you can see that red line down there that says live, and the next to it Q&A. That's how you can post your questions, and that way when I get to the Q&A, they'll be in a nice row for me, which makes it much easier. And you guys, excuse me, know on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can simply post your questions in the comments. And somebody from Twitch. Somebody came from Twitch. Nay, good to see you. I tried Twitch at the beginning and nobody was coming. And finally I thought, I'm going to try Twitch again. So good to see you from there. Glad you came. Stay as long as you like, of course, but hope you find it interesting. So yes, you guys can post your questions in the comment box on each of your services, and we should see them scroll by. And as always, I'm on Twitch, but I haven't used it much, but I have an account there, and I decided to stream there because with the service I can, and thought, let's try. Mags, thank you for that. So just to finish explaining folks how this works. So on the other services, you can use the comment box. On YouTube, you can also buy super chat questions or super stickers. Super stickers are just a way of saying thank you. They don't involve questions. And super chat questions, actually, you put a question. And if you're Harvey or Marion, you put a really hard question for me. And I always promise, since there's a lot of questions and I never can get to all of them, if you do a super chat question, I will answer it for sure. And Nay, I'll tell you really quick, so I'm about to jump in here. The other places I'm streaming that are the two most popular places I stream, and actually I might as well tell you guys, it's funny because I always sort of forget that I've literally got TikTok on my iPad. I've got YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Twitch and Twitter, except all of them don't necessarily have folks visiting us. Actually, we've got a few folks from different places, but I can tell you, so I'm just copying something here. One thing you could do is if you're on a service that doesn't have a lot of people and want to visit one that does, the two most popular are definitely TikTok and YouTube. My TikTok account is simply my last name, Aravosis, which actually name might even be the same for you on Twitch. That's my TikTok account. And on YouTube, because YouTube, I love this. YouTube didn't believe that they wouldn't let me just use my last name, even though there are no other Aravosises on YouTube. It's me. My family name is me. YouTube wouldn't believe me. So they made me pick John Aravosis DC as my YouTube name, even though I wanted Aravosis. And again, there are no Aravosises, just me and my family. But so you can find me as John Aravosis DC on YouTube, John John. So anyway, let me get rolling, guys. So the news today, as always, weird mixed bag of news today. So the first sort of big thing, and I will get to sort of how the different fronts in the war are going in a second. That's how I normally start. But today I'm going to start with, last thing I forgot to say too is, of course, when you guys do the GIFs on TikTok, I appreciate that too. And I will always try to give a shout out as long as it catches my attention. I try to do a shout out on the GIFs on TikTok. So thank you. I really appreciate those as well. So anyway, big story that kind of broke right before we came out today was that Macron, Scholz, and Draghi, the leaders of France, Germany, and Italy, are going to be going to Ukraine. And they're going to be posing a visit on right before they head to the NATO summit later this month. It's a little strange. Something's up. I don't want to say I smell a rat. I don't smell a rat. It's good that they're going, but it's strange that they're going. And mind you, it's the three countries that have been a pain in the ass who are going. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hungary, worse. Turkey, worse. Bulgaria has been kind of a pain in the ass too. Bulgaria says they've done enough at this point, and they haven't done that much. But Bulgaria is too close to Russia anyway. But in terms of Western Europe and in terms of the superpowers in NATO, it's been really disappointing what's been going on with the French, the Germans, and Ukrainians. I don't want to go through all of it, but it's a setup as to talking about why they're doing this trip now to Ukraine, okay, and why it's those three. So we had Draghi of Italy. He had the peace plan that nobody liked, that actually our UN ambassador, the US UN ambassador, embraced, and then 2 days later she was forced to repudiate the plan and say, no, we don't embrace the Italian plan. So she got into trouble for that. Scholz in Germany is like Mr. I'm supportive of Ukraine. I'm not supportive of Ukraine. I'm supportive of Ukraine. I'm not supportive of Ukraine. Just back, boom, boom, slapping his face back and forth. Making deals and killing deals to help Ukraine. And then you've got Macron in France, who just needs to get a bedroom with Vladimir Putin, and we'll have the love story of the century. Who always wants to phone Vlad and see if there's anything more we can do for peace. And I believe if I'm not wrong, thank you, Ali. If I'm not wrong, you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but the French were also the ones who threw out, along with the Austrians, the whole, the Ukrainians couldn't join the EU for 20 years. For 20 years, we will wait until we let Ukraine into the European Union. And I know Austria did it, and Austria did it in a particularly racist way. Hey, Christy. And the French did it as well. It was somebody in France, one of the other top people. So anyways, put all this together, okay? There has been ongoing angst at these three countries not being supportive enough of Zelensky and Ukraine. And then all three of them suddenly announced that together they're visiting Ukraine, like in about a week or so, week and a half, maybe two. Why is that? To me, clearly it's related to the perception that they're not being supportive enough. The thing is, I still want to know why something happened. Something happened behind the scenes to convince these three to go and to convince that they needed to go. And it makes me think the strongest thing I can think of is that there was some kind of intelligence or something showing that the Russians really do believe that that NATO is falling apart. That the western flank of NATO with France, Germany, and Italy are no longer want to support Zelensky, and the Russians are planning something bad as a result of that. Thinking, who knows, maybe even using weapons of mass destruction, right? Because NATO's falling apart, they won't take us on. I think there's some piece of intelligence that and it was Biden, maybe the Brits, but probably Biden, brought up to these three and said, okay, you've effed this up. For your own domestic audiences, you had to vacillate, but now you've screwed it up. Putin's been empowered, and you need to go public and make it clear that you're not on his side, and that's why they're doing it. And they probably were going to do a statement, and somebody else said, no, you need to go visit together and do a show of force with Zelensky, so that you show there isn't an ounce of difference. Now, I don't know what the hell's going on, like I said, but something's going on. Let me sort of get into the other stuff now. I will warn you, I have a little bit of bad German news tonight, but then I have two good German stories. So don't get too pissed about Germany, but Germany being Germany, although this is, again, an illustration of the very problem. For, every time there's a Germany, there's a good story, there's a bad story. So the Der Spiegel, German publication, is reporting that the Spanish deal to provide Leopard tanks, old German tanks, to the Ukrainians has just been killed by the Spanish because, among other reasons, Germany made clear to the Spanish, don't you dare. Germany, again, according to Der Spiegel, Germany reiterated that there is this secret deal that none of us know about that NATO keeps denying, but there's a secret deal that the NATO has agreed that they will not provide, or I should say the top NATO countries have agreed they will not provide tanks to Ukraine. And that Germany, once again, helped kill a deal. If you Google it, you will see just in the last couple of days, Spain was talking about sending these tanks to Ukraine. And now you're going to find out very shortly, at least according to Der Spiegel, that the deal's dead and the Germans killed it. In terms of good Germany, the Ukrainian ambassador to Germany says that Germany is going to send Iris-T missiles to Ukraine in October. The Ukrainian ambassador says that the October deadline is actually not a bad thing. It's not Germany playing games. It is justified because the air defense systems are still being produced. So they're just being made. They will be ready in October. Now, apparently it is a cutting-edge system, which is comparable to the U.S.-made Patriot system, which is a big honking deal. The Patriots are a huge deal. The Patriots are what Israel has used for at least 20 years, I think 30 years. I think we talked about this before. We're not the Patriots, the system used in the first Gulf War in the early in 1991. I think. So it's been decades, but the Patriots are a hugely effective system for shooting down rockets coming in. So that is allegedly happening in October. I hope it's true. I will say I'm not going to hold my breath, but, you know, the Ukrainian ambassador is happy right now, so I'll be happy. Other good German news, Ukraine's ambassador again to Germany says that Germany is going to deliver 7 self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine around June 22nd. So that's nice to hear. Biden did something weird today too. And again, I'm raising these as the top stories because there's weird political stuff around both of these. And I like to bring up the weird political, I joke about weird political stories, but I like to bring up stories with you guys where I think my political background can hopefully add a little value. So Bloomberg is a reputable business news outlet here. Bloomberg is reporting that Biden said today at a political fundraiser, Biden said today, privately, and of course it got leaked, that Zelensky brushed off warnings of Russia's invasion. Let me read you the quote from Biden. "I know a lot of people thought I was exaggerating," Biden said during a fundraiser, "but I knew we had data about Russia's invasion." He added, "There was no doubt, and Zelensky didn't want to hear it, nor did a lot of people." So, okay, the Ukrainians are pissed, and the Ukrainians should be pissed. I try to mark myself as the fair guy, the objective guy who's willing to criticize both sides. And as you've seen, I do. Zelensky, I think the report is accurate. Okay, as an American watching this, I don't think it was simply that Zelensky was trying to keep his people, not afraid. If you thought Russia was going to invade in the next 3 to 5 days like we did, you would tell your people. You wouldn't say, I don't want to scare anybody, so I'm not going to tell them the Russians are about to unleash hell on them in the next 5 days. You would prepare your population. Thank you, Grandma. I thought it was weird. Zelensky was undercutting Biden when Biden was saying this in the days before the invasion. But why the hell would you say that today? That's the thing I'm not understanding. Why? Again, this is where I'm saying I'm happy to go after both sides. I think what Biden said is true, but why would Biden say it? Because first of all, he's doing it at a private fundraiser, and you know that the fundraiser is going to, it's going to leak, right? It's going to leak. We know it's going to leak. So why would Biden say this when all it's going to do is piss off the Ukrainians? And frankly, all it does, and again, it doesn't even matter if it's true or false at this point. What matters is clearly by saying this, you're undercutting Zelensky. Guys, they're having some problems over on TikTok. If some of the mods would go over there. A number of folks are complaining, which is why I'm believing now it's real. If somebody can just check. But it undercuts Zelensky. It makes him look bad in front of his own people because, frankly, it risks even starting a debate in Ukraine of people saying, did Zelensky ignore the war? This is not the discussion we should be having right now. True or false, let's talk about it afterwards. And I get, what Biden's problem is Biden has a lot of problems. Biden sucks at politics. And he won. I'm not going to say he sucks at politics because he was senator for 50 years practically, or 50 years, or at least member of Congress for 50 years and won the presidency. But Biden sucks at messaging. right? So I get it. Biden's trying to get credit for the war. He's trying to get credit from Democrats for the war, because also Biden I think, has not done a sufficient job of getting credit. As much as I'll criticize Biden on some things on the war, he pulled this all. I think Biden pulled this off. I think Biden, using his 50 years of experience in foreign policy, did a great job of getting the Europeans and the world together to support Ukraine. Okay. And I mean, others were hugely important and helpful too, right? The Canadians and the Poles, again, Duda surprised us in Poland, the Baltic states, my God, the Brits. I mean, there were a lot of countries who have been amazing. Okay. But the United States has that extra heft, obviously, being the United States, and Biden used it well. In any case, I'm not going to spend more time on this. It just blew my mind that he would say this today. I just think it's sloppy. It's sloppy because it undercuts, thank you, Robert, it undercuts Zelensky, and that's not cool. I want to mention a little bit about artillery again, only because I mentioned it yesterday, but it's a big story, and it's a growing story. Ukraine is running out of artillery. They, being a former Soviet country, okay, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union fell apart, dissolved, disappeared in 1991. And the Mama Kendra, I see that. I'm going to save it until I'm off of this roll. Soviet Union dissolves, and Ukraine still keeps the weapons that were on Ukrainian soil. This include a couple thousand nuclear weapons, and it also included everything else, tanks, artillery, right? You name it. So Ukraine, like much of the former Soviet Union and also Eastern Europe, inherited a bunch of Soviet weapons. Well, the problem is with artillery, the Ukrainians have already used all of their artillery shells. These Soviet weapons, not surprisingly, use Soviet artillery shells. Well, nobody's making those other than probably the Russians at this point, but the Russians aren't going to be exporting any artillery shells to Europe or to Ukraine. The rest of us don't make them. So what happened was the West had stored a bunch of these old artillery shells from the Soviets over the years, I'm guessing for this reason, to help supply Eastern Europe, et cetera, right? Thank you, Peaches. I'm going to call you Peaches for that. And Ukraine's used the shells. In other words, the ammunition. Ukraine, the ammunition's almost gone. They've still got these Soviet artillery guns, but they don't have anything to put in them. So what has happened is the Russians, one report today I saw said the Russians are firing 50,000 artillery shells a day, while the Ukrainians are firing 5,000 to 6,000 artillery shells a day. So 1/10 of the shells, 1/10 of the ammunition, 1/10 of the bullets, so to speak, the bombs that the Russians are sending. It's really bad, and it's expected to get much worse. Thank you, Inspired Woman. Appreciate that. It's expected to get much worse. So, and to sort of conclude with this, and the thing is, it's not clear who's to blame. I'm seeing kind of both NATO, but maybe Ukraine. Like it's not entirely clear, so I'm not going to cast blame yet, but the Ukrainians are certainly saying NATO needs to help more and hasn't. NATO has sent a ton of new artillery to Ukraine, but it's the artillery, thank you, Scholz, it's artillery that is for the NATO weapons. The NATO artillery weapons, right? Artillery pieces. The problem is Ukraine doesn't have that many of those. So it's sitting on a ton of artillery that it can't use because it's artillery for NATO weapons and it hasn't received enough NATO weapons yet. And of course, there's training on the NATO weapons and it takes a while to deploy them and everything else. So as I said, it's a real, I don't know who to blame on this, but it's very concerning. Thank you, Grandma and Baby Shoe. And everybody's throwing stuff in. And Louie. Terry. Sorry, they're like overwhelming me on TikTok with all the cute gifts. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm not going to blame anybody at this point, but you know what? I don't care who's to blame. We need to fix this, and we need to fix it fast. I'm sure NATO gets it, but this is concerning. Let's talk about the fronts a little bit. There isn't a ton of news in terms of the war front. Thank you for that, Rainbow Rain. I never realized that was your name. That's cute. I always see the first part, Rainbow R. On the various fronts, Severodonetsk. Okay, as always, I've got my handy-dandy T-shirt map. So Severodonetsk, or Sievierodonetsk, to pronounce it the correct way, which is not so easy in English. This town over here, thank you, Amanda and Danny. This town over here in the east. This is the town where there's been a ton of fighting going on. Robert, thank you as well. Ton of fighting going on in the last couple of weeks. it goes back and forth, but the Russians seem to be getting the upper hand slowly. Today there were reports. Remember how it's been going back and forth. Today the latest report is maybe the Ukrainians control. What was I saying? A third of it? Yeah, maybe. The mayor of the town, who's Ukrainian, is claiming that the Ukrainians control a third of the town, which would be actually good compared to how it's been going. Who knows? Russia definitely does not still control the city overall. That was from the Institute for the Study of War, very reputable Western think tank here in Washington. They said Russia definitely doesn't fully control the city, but it's going back and forth and back and forth. So not much news on that. In terms of Kharkiv, second largest Ukrainian city in the northeast, second largest Ukrainian city, period. And it's in the northeast, 1.5 million people. Kharkiv, I think there's no updates said today. No developments at all. And this is, again, Institute for the Study of War saying, there's some fighting on the outskirts, but there's been nothing significant. Kherson, which is over here. Okay, there we go. Kherson. Actually, I sort of like to iterate before I even say all of this, that the fighting tends to be Kharkiv area, Severodonetsk area, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. So it's here, and here. Okay, and this just happens to be the arc that Russia is controlling and occupying currently and wants to annex. Okay, so in Kherson, the Russians are digging in further. They're setting up checkpoints. We knew this. We've been talking about this for a few weeks. I've been talking about it for at least a week now, that we're heading to a point where the Russians are just trying to dig in as best they can so that the Ukrainians can't take the land back, and the Russians will simply annex it and say, magically, this land is now Russia. This land will be Russia. That was it. New York Times said the Ukrainians made some small gains in Kherson, some small gains with their counterattacks. That was it. The UN Commission arrived today in Ukraine to investigate possible war crimes. We had learned recently that the UN, among others, was going to be investigating, and their folks just arrived, so that's good. The European Union membership. I just thought I'd mention this because the European Oh, I'm sorry, I'm already forgetting. Hang on. I saw Raggedy Android's question. I remembered I had another question. All right, Mama Kendra, let me start with yours first. I always jump in for the super chat questions and appreciate you guys sending those. Thank you. 6 hours ago, yes, news media announced Nicaragua is allowing Russian troops to enter with planes, ships, and troops. Why is this? Should the U.S. worry? It's funny. Somebody else sent me that privately. That story oddly broke yesterday or the day before, because I saw it a day ago. I don't know. But for some reason, it's breaking in U.S. news like now. The Nicaraguans, run by Daniel Ortega. Ortega is the, pretty much dictator who was there in the 1980s. Sandinistas, still not a fan of him, pro-Soviet. He gets elected a while ago, once again, is very anti-democratic in the country, arrested up right before his re-election. He arrested the other presidential candidates. This is not a good thing, this man. In any case, so they passed some legislation, and the whole country is a dictatorship now. It's his dictatorship, so legislation passes, right? Passes some legislation or something saying that a number of foreign troops, not just the Russians, lots of foreign troops, including the U.S., are welcome to come to help us with emergencies and disasters and a couple different other weird categories. And it's. I heard the story yesterday and went, my ears are kind of like, what the hell is that? Like, why is Nicaragua talking about welcoming Russians right now? Now, there was a whole thing with, the U.S. cut them out of, I don't even remember what it is. Are we having a summit or something we're having with the Americas or something that we didn't invite Nicaragua to? And maybe Nicaragua's doing it to get even. Clearly, it's not just that. What worries me when I hear this and I think back to the 1980s and the concerns that the Russians were going to put troops, they were going to station troops in Central America and keep them there. I worry about them setting up bases. I worry about the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is potentially a very dangerous thing. And as I said, the final point I'll just throw in for now is Nicaragua made this very, too cute by half allegation. Thank you, B-Dog. That, as I said, the legislation doesn't say it's about Russians. It could be Americans. It could be Brits. It could be anybody. And I told the guy who gave me the tip, I said, that's like me saying, I'm having a dinner party and I've invited you and Angelina Jolie. And I say, no, I invited Angelina Jolie. Well, yeah, I mean, the Americans are welcome to come set up, whatever the fuck, when he knew damn well this legislation was written for the Russians. It's like the Americans and the Brits aren't coming, obviously. So it worries me. We just got to keep an eye on it, but you better believe the U.S. is keeping an eye on it. And I mean, honestly, the Russians better not try something cute there, or we are going to have we're going to have a more than Cold War if that happens. I mean, the Russians do anything like that, and you're going to, he's going to go the way of what's his face in Panama if he keeps it up. I mean, very dangerous. So the other one, the NATO decision. Oh, okay. Raggedy Android. Could it be a grain ship escort from the Black Sea? The NATO decision. Oh, okay. Help me out because, you wrote that in sign language. Yeah, Noriega, that's it, Noriega. You wrote that sort of in semi full sentence. What NATO decision? Oh, did you write this as a two-parter? Is that why I'm not understanding what you wrote? Let me see. Hang on. I'm reading like a second part of a question here. Hang on. Or you just decided to be cryptic? You just decided to be cryptic. Okay, why don't you put the rest of that sentence down? You don't have to pay for it, obviously, but the NATO decision. Are you saying why Zelensky wasn't? I feel like I'm playing Jeopardy. Why Zelensky was invited to the NATO summit happening in 2 weeks? Because we all were asking what's going on, right? We were saying why are they doing that if there's no reason to do that? Syndicate thinks I may not have answered Mama Kendra's question. Did I not? I thought I did. Wait, let me see. All right. Syndicate's getting pissy. Let me check. Kendra, I can't even find your question. I'm trying to scroll back and find the question now. Wait. Oh, Harvey's got one too. Okay, if I didn't finish answering your question, somebody point it out because I'm not even seeing it now in my feed. Yeah, I see Raggedy Android and Javi. Okay, so let me know if I missed it. But in any case, so Raggedy Android, yeah. So if you're talking about why was Zelensky sent, I'm seeing Rascal say I sent a question. I'm saying the word sent. Thanks, Rascal. There you go, and thank you for the swing. In terms of why Zelensky's going to the NATO summit. If we were saying why was he invited if nothing's happening? Okay, good, Kendra. I thought I answered it. Syndicate, Syndicate gets a little, it's like 2 a.m. in Amsterdam or whatever, and he gets a little wild. So, but the here we go. I'm sorry. This is the first part. Okay, Raggedy Andrew. They made the statement Zelensky was invited June 28th and 29th, and a decision would be made. What decision? There you go. They were the ones cryptic. You are correct. Yes, this is what I thought she was asking. So, or I'm guessing I shouldn't say see, maybe you're a guy. But the issue was why would NATO invite Zelensky to the summit, to the NATO summit, and then say a decision will be made? And we were like, a decision on what? Because we know you aren't going to welcome them to NATO. I mean, we've known that for a while now. So what are you doing? So what Raggedy Android is saying is, was there perhaps going to be something announced about the grain or something, NATO escorting grain ships? I got to tell you, I don't think NATO's got the balls to escort any grain ships, to be honest. I mean, because they'd be having to challenge the Russians. And if the Russians challenge them, I'm not convinced NATO's got it there, especially with the problems we've had with the French and the Germans and the Italians, and even Biden. Biden is still, I think, beholden to somebody called it in something I read today, the de-escalation wing, right, of his advisors, telling him, you've got to de-escalate. We've got to make sure we don't get Putin mad. You don't do that by flagging Ukrainian grain ships with American flags and risking war. I think it would be a great idea. I don't think Biden would think it was a great idea. Now, let me just show Karen's question since she was bringing up the same thing. Could NATO be making him in name only? I'm not sure what you mean by making. You may have had a typo. Do you mean could NATO be inviting him in name only? Do you mean that? Like kind of inviting him just for show to pretend like we're being nice, but we're not really doing anything? Could NATO be making him in name only? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Sorry. Throw another comment in. Don't pay for it because you did there, and that was very generous of you. But if you want to throw a follow-up, maybe that would not hurt, so I can tell what exactly you were asking. Hang on a second. Let me just see what other people are posting, because happy to bring up anything related to the NATO thing since we're talking NATO, because we don't do that enough. And I don't mind, like, because sometimes you guys start discussing the actual issue I'm talking about when I'm presenting. So if I can, I don't mind weaving in. I can even, from TikTok is saying the grain issue is huge for the world. That alone gives Putin too much power. True. You guys are saying here that, let me see here. I wish NATO had the balls to escort grain, says Jessica, though I wonder if the recent statements on a food catastrophe could have swayed some. Ukraine made a NATO member in name only. Gotcha. I mean, okay, I wondered whether they weren't going to come up with something cute, like you were saying, like, honorary NATO member, like in the TV movies and stuff, where like the little boy is made an honorary sheriff, and they give him a little badge. I wouldn't be surprised if NATO gives Zelensky a little badge and makes Ukraine honorary NATO member, or like a new category for NATO members who aren't members but are adjuncts or something. You know what I mean? That I wonder, like, for example, OPEC. OPEC has OPEC Plus. Now, thank you, Evolving. It's not officially called OPEC Plus, I think, but it's other countries. Actually, Russia, I think, is a member of OPEC Plus. And I'm forgetting some of the other countries that are not NATO. It's not NATO. They're not OPEC. OPEC being the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, the big Middle East cartel, Saudi Arabia, et cetera, of oil producers, right? They've got these other countries that are big producers like Russia that are on the side, and they're not OPEC, but they, coordinate with OPEC as part of a larger, what's the word I'm looking for? Cabal, not a cabal, but when collusion, when the companies get together, and they call it OPEC Plus. What if we had a NATO Plus? That's an interesting idea. That's it. Sort of friends of NATO kind of thing. And friends of NATO get exactly what we did, NATO adjacent, exactly what we did for Ukraine, where we may not go to war over you, but NATO will come to your defense. But the defense will be less than it would be Partners for Peace. That Partners for Peace would be a good name. Yeah, so you get it. That's actually very interesting. I hadn't thought of that. That's very interesting. And again, it's got to be something. It's got to be something that's enough, because otherwise it's just embarrassing if we just did it without actually giving Ukraine something real. That would be very strange. It'd be very strange. Hard to think of a NATO light membership, says Elise, since NATO is first and mainly but Article 5. I agree. But NATO Pro Max. I know the plus is getting a little overused. There was a joke on somebody. Oh God, it must have. My guess is it was this. I'm forgetting his name now. Matteo. It had to be Matteo. Who else would it be? This gay TikToker who did a joke. He's a comedian and stand-up comedian, and he was doing this joke about LGBTQ plus, and he was like, "What's the plus? Like, is this like? Do we have to pay for it? Like, what's that?" And it was it was very funny. It made me laugh. But in any case, all right, let me look. Sorry, we had a backup of questions here. I've got Karen that we just did, Raggedy Android. Exactly, Raggedy Android. I've got Harvey. Okay, I've got Harvey. And if I missed anybody else, let me just look really quick to. Okay, I did not see anybody else. Once I do Harvey's, let me know if I missed anything. And then I'm still going through my news here. So, but I don't mind the back and forth. It's kind of nice getting on tangents that people are into, which is good. Harvey Kittle, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss. See, Harvey learned this from me, by the way. Harvey learned that he shouldn't just use names, but not just Harvey, but it's when you're writing for other people, don't assume they know who you mean. So like when I mention Pelosi and Schumer, I'll often say, Democratic House Leader Nancy Pelosi and Democratic Senate Leader Chuck Schumer. Even for an American audience, I never want to assume that they know who I'm talking about, And Harvey initially would throw these names of officials at me and try to trick me. And I begged him, and he's doing it now. I begged him to make sure he treats me as the idiot I am, and tell me who these people are. So British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss is in talks with Russia, attempting to secure the release of British nationals sentenced to death by Russian separatists in Ukraine. Depending what happens with this, what principle could this set? Well, I mean, I don't know that it's a bad thing necessarily. Here's the thing, okay? Russia, and this is Russia doing. It was the Ukrainian collaborators in the east of Ukraine, the area that Russia wants to steal. I think I don't know. It could have been in Luhansk or Donetsk. Either way, the two provinces are here, the two oblasts, and they put on trial 2 Brits and 1 Moroccan who were in the Ukrainian army. I mean, they weren't foreign mercenaries. They apparently had lived in Ukraine for years, and they were literally members of the Ukrainian army, right? Well, the Russians didn't like it, so they had their puppets try these guys for treason, which makes no sense. I mean, treason. How is it treason? Like, right? If you're not a national of the country, it's not treason. It's sedition, maybe. Even sedition doesn't quite work. They accused them of treason, found them guilty, and sentenced them to death. I mean, even the UN, and let's face it, the UN, the UN even got upset and said this is a war crime, and it is a war crime. And now they're trying a South Korean for the same BS. They've got a South Korean as well now that they're accusing of this and going to try him too. Having said that, I don't have a problem with Britain negotiating for their release, and if it's negotiating for, we'll trade you some Russian soldiers for these guys, but you don't negotiate for their release by giving them money and that kind of crazy stuff. You would negotiate for their release as you would other prisoners. So Britain has to be very careful because underlying your question is I assume the notion that, could this be somewhat risky, that we're almost agreeing with Russia or something, right? With this fake show trial. I would look at it as long as the Brits treat them as prisoners of war, and of course Britain might negotiate to try to get its prisoners of war out of Ukraine, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But they've got to be careful with it. Yes, they've got to be really careful with it. Thank you, Iggy, for that. I see that. All right, guys, let me just look. All right, I'm going to assume I did not miss a question. Did I? Niet. Ukraine made. Yep. Okay, good. I didn't miss a question. All right, let me continue with the substance, and then we'll get back. So the European Union, mic check. Oh no, the mic died again. Did it really on your guys' side? Oh, hang on, I'm going to unplug and plug. Let me plug back in. It seems to work. Boom. All right. How about that? Hopefully it happened again. Are we back? I'm going to make sure. Okay, we're back now. Still staticky or no? All good here? Sometimes it starts to break and it gets staticky. I had to buy a whole new setup like a month ago or something. Okay, good. Thank you, Ms. Mickey. Appreciate that. All right. So, okay, good. Everyone's telling me I'm good. That's good. Makes me feel better. All right, Harvey, I'm sending you to the gulag. There we go. So the European Union is going to be putting out their opinion on Ukraine's membership next week. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told President Zelensky during a visit to Kyiv that the Ukrainian authorities had done a lot to get EU candidate status. She added that Ukraine has been on a good track even before Russia's ongoing invasion. We want to support Ukraine in its European journey. So, I mean, it's a little weird. I'm glad to hear it, but it's a little weird, right? Very strange. Only because I'm saying this sounds positive. And I'm not convinced the EU is going to do anything even vaguely positive with Ukraine. I guess they could make them candidate and keep them a candidate for 15 years, right? I mean, are the Turks officially a candidate? All you Euros out there? I know, we're holding off on the Turks. We're holding off on the Turks because of Cyprus, but weren't they given candidate status at least for the EU just to kind of entice them? I don't know. Are they? But I mean, for Turkey though, is Turkey a candidate? Anybody? Hello. Speaking into my echo, is Turkey a candidate? Anybody? I'm going to move on. All right, I'm going to move on, and then if they are, you guys can just tell me. Because if they are, the Turks don't want it. Okay, interesting. No, they are a candidate though. Yeah. But since 1999, thank you. That's what I was asking for. Palpatine weighed in. Thank you, Emperor. Palpatine weighed in to let us know that Turkey has been a candidate for the EU since 1999, which means 23 years ago. Now, in Turkey's case, I'm going to guess it's because of the invasion of Cyprus, and the Greeks won't let them in fully until they get their butts out of Cyprus. And they have dodgy human rights issues. That's also obviously very true, especially now more than ever, sadly. But it also means you can be a candidate and be dragged out. My point to say this is you can be a candidate without any expectation that you're going to be a member anytime soon. That's what I mean. Because in Turkey's case, they probably said, yeah, you can be a candidate, but until you straighten out the human rights stuff and Cyprus, you're not going anywhere. And there was no expectation Turkey was going to figure Cyprus, do the right thing on Cyprus anytime soon. So anyway, it would still be a good step in the right direction, I think. It's negotiating. Yeah, no, I think so, John. So another foreign fighter, I told you about that, the South Korean. Oh, so problems. I'm almost done with the news anyway, but we've been doing questions anyway, which is fine. There's growing problems or growing evidence of problems with Russian troops in Ukraine, which is great. Ukraine Security Service claimed that they captured a new group of Russian prisoners of war who reportedly were recruited. This is kind of a great story. Who were recruited through a private military company. Now I'm reading this and I'm thinking, wow, is this like, the Wagner group, the mercenaries who are murderous thugs, right? So I read like a private military group. So listen to this. The Ukrainians claim they captured a new group of Russian prisoners of war who were reportedly recruited through a private military company and told they were going to be providing security services. So they were told they weren't even going to be fighters. These aren't even the B team versus the A team. They're like the C team. Thank you, NATO bot. That is one of my faves. These are like the C team of people. They were literally told, we're hiring you to provide security. We're not hiring you to fight. Well, Russians being Russians, what did they do? They took these guys and instead sent them to the front line in Luhansk. Now, Luhansk is the province out here that is right on the border with Russia and where all the fighting's been going on. Severodonetsk is Luhansk. So they took these guys who were hired to be like security guards and they literally threw them at the front line of the war. I'm sorry, it makes me laugh because it's like, this is what do you do? So they threw these guys to the front line. In related news, the Ukrainian General Staff reports, or the Ukrainian military reports, that Russian units comprised of forcibly mobilized personnel. So these are, Ukrainians in the occupied territories of Ukraine in the east. But my guess is it's hard to know whether these are collaborators or good Ukrainians. I'm not sure. Either way, they were forced. They were forced to join the military against their desire, and they're refusing to participate in combat in the Donbass due to high losses. And remember, Donbass is the name for the entire two regions. Donetsk, Luhansk are the two regions the Russians want, and Donbass is the combined name for it, the region. So these troops that were forced to join the military against their will in eastern Ukraine are refusing to fight now because there's too many deaths. So that was good. And the final piece of good news, the Ukrainian main intelligence directorate, cited intercepted phone calls and claimed that Russian soldiers are refusing to fight and are being threatened with prosecution despite their lack of equipment and weapons within their units. So they don't have enough equipment, they don't have enough weapons, they're refusing to fight, and they're threatening to actually to prosecute them. And yes, there have been a ton of fires, Crystal, at recruitment offices across Russia. The 18th fire that we know of, there may have been more, but the 18th fire that we know of occurred in the far eastern Russian town of Vladivostok, which is way in the Russian Far East, kind of south, getting more towards China and all of that. I'm going to stop with that. Let me jump in for since we already had a number of the questions over on YouTube, the Super Chat questions. Let me look for, where's my phone? Let me look for the TikTok questions to give you guys a fair chance here too. My glorious TikTokers, 101st TikTokers. What we got here? Q&A. And remember, use the Q&A box in my TikTok profile if you would. All right. Oh, I never. She put, do you think, or he put, do you think, and a pile of crap in. I never knew that was how people were writing Putin. That's very funny. Oh, poo. Putin. Okay. Very funny. Will invade other countries after his Alexander the Great reference. Oh, it wasn't Alexander the Great. It was Peter the Great. He was comparing, same difference. He was comparing himself to one of the greatest Russian czars that grabbed all this land for Russia. So yeah, after his Peter the Great reference. Oh, hello. Oh, oh, I do. Yeah. Sorry. Yulia. All right, Yulia. That would you texting my computer as we're talking here. Oh, wait a minute. All right. She's correcting my pronunciation. All right. Sorry. All right, guys, we have a break in here. Wait a minute. I was told the exact opposite. Wait, Severodonetsk is the Ukrainian way? I was told Severodonetsk was the Ukrainian way, and Severodonetsk was the wrong Russian way. It's the opposite? All right, you're allowed to text me once more because I want to get it right. I totally thought it was the other way around. I was trying to do the good thing. All right, I've got her muted at least, so I'm not going to hear it. But yeah, send once more and tell me. That's good. I didn't know that. In terms of the Peter the Great thing, or just keep us on our toes, do you think China will ever help Russia? Two-part questions. Tricky. Putin isn't necessarily. There's no reason for Putin to stop. And why would Putin stop? Because he hasn't stopped anyway. Like, it's not like Ukraine is the first one that he's done, right? I mean, Ukraine isn't the first place he's gone after. Or I should never say Ukraine. Ukraine this time around isn't the first place he's gone after. Thank you, Grandma. He went after Ukraine in 2014 and stole Crimea. Remember? The peninsula that's at the very bottom here, right? So that's the first one. Then he came back 3 months ago, and now he's stealing eastern Ukraine and, frankly, tried to steal the entire country, right? He's gone after Georgia. He's gone after, oh God, I'm forgetting. Not he, I mean the Russians. He's gone after Georgia. The Russians have gone after other former Soviet areas, Syria, everything else, right? So I don't think he would stop anyway. And depending how the rest of the world responds to this, thank you, Kanausi, how the rest of the world responds to this will gauge what Putin does in the future. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think it's his Peter the Great stuff was more problematic because it showed exactly what, assuming he's telling the truth, it showed exactly what he's thinking. He thinks he's the next czar. He thinks he's going to go Chechnya. That's it. I was trying to say Chechnya and I was forgetting Chechnya, which was before him though, but nonetheless Chechnya. Or I think Chechnya would be 1990s. Syria, not Syria, but I mean they're meddling in Syria. They've been meddling in Syria as well. But they aren't annexing Syria, I guess, to their credit. Yeah, it depends how it gets handled. But he's not stopping. No. And the Peter the Great thing only makes it worse because it shows the sort of the megalomania, but also the whole idea of his greater mission is to reunite, is to bring all these lands back to Russia, right? As for China, hopefully they're not going to help. I mean, I think if China were helping, we'd hear about it. So far, so good, I think, on the China front. Let me look. Excuse me. Ruh-roh, I'm getting yelled at. Are you going to retract your statement that Ukraine didn't prepare and unban Barbicus? I have no idea what Barbicus said on TikTok for calling you out. I don't know. What did Barbicus do? Was Barbicus mean? I don't mind Barbicus disagreeing. unless Barbicus was being rude. We ban rude. We don't ban disagreement. We ban rude. So, so you tell me, mods, if Barbicus wants to come back, he's happy to come back. But I'm not wrong about Ukraine. No, I disagree. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. And I'm not going to say I'm wrong just because you say I'm wrong. But no, it was clear from the beginning. Biden was getting publicly criticized. I remember it because it pissed me off. Biden was getting publicly criticized by Zelensky for saying that it's coming anytime now. And we kept being told, stay out of it. It's not coming, blah, 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 And interestingly enough, my friend Vlad, our wonderful friend Vlad, told us too that most of his friends didn't think it was coming. He was the only one that prepared for the invasion. He actually had gotten train tickets for his wife and daughter. His daughter's only 3 years old, and they were in Kharkiv. And again, right? Kharkiv, northeast, literally like 15 miles from the Russian border. It was clear this was where the Russians were going to come in addition to here, right? And then they also came here that kind of surprised folks too, but it was clear they were coming to Kharkiv. He bought train tickets for his family. He filled their car. He was going to drive the car separately, filled it with everything they needed, and they were going to drive to Western Ukraine to get his family away from at least the war front. And he was the only one amongst his friends and family that had prepared. Nobody else had prepared. And even he got surprised. Even he got surprised when they started bombing Thursday morning, he said. But so, no. I mean, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but no. Biden was getting criticized, but again, I don't see why the hell Biden should be saying that. That's just idiotic for him to say that publicly. All it does is start the very discussion that we're having. It starts people arguing about, well, is Ukraine to blame? Was Ukraine not to blame? Like as if blame is even a part of it. But you know what I mean? It starts this very angry debate, which is why Biden's an idiot as far as I'm concerned for saying it. So there. Elise, why do you think we don't hear more about Brittany Griner? Good question. Brittany Griner is the American basketball star female who was basically kidnapped by the Russians under trumped up charges. She was leaving the airport after working there for a summer. I guess a lot of American sports figures, when the American season is done for the year, they'll go abroad and then play on foreign teams. And she was playing on, I think, the St. Petersburg team and was coming back to the U.S. They arrested her at the airport. They claimed she had hashish or some crazy thing. The U.S. investigated and concluded that this was absolutely a lie, that they were doing it to take her hostage, to embarrass us because of the war. And what Elise is asking now is the U.S. government keeping negotiations behind the scenes for her safety, or are we just leaving her over there? No, they're not leaving her over. There's no way that's happening yet at least. No. My first thought was exactly what you just said. The fact that we're not hearing about it is the U.S. thinks it doesn't benefit for us to be talking publicly. And think about why. The Russians took her hostage because of the war, because they wanted prominent American, and even better that she's black and gay, because there's a lot of racism over there. And the government has made homophobia one of its pillars of the Putin government. And this was even Kirill, the patriarch of the Russian church, brought up, thank you, Annette, brought up homosexuality, being gay, as one of the big reasons they needed the war in Ukraine, because Europe is such a bad place morally, and Ukraine was going to go along with them or something to that effect, right? So my guess is, thinking about it now, if they're taking a hostage because they're hoping the hostage is high profile and they're hoping it's embarrassing and they're using it to, everything, like to just go after us for public relations, then are you not giving them public relations by talking about it publicly? My point here is, I don't think it helps her case for the U.S. to complain about it publicly. If you could, not you, but if somebody could prove me wrong, I'd say, okay, let's talk about it publicly then. But so far, the more fuss we make about how could you take her, Putin's going, oh, this is perfect. We kidnapped the right lady, because look at how upset they are, and look at all the right. And talking about it and criticizing Putin, I don't think will have any impact on him whatsoever for how he treats her. So My guess is it's backroom negotiations or something else is my guess. Yeah. But the one thing they did do, the State Department, our foreign ministry, announced several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that they had determined that she, in fact, had not had drugs with her and that it was, in essence, a kidnapping. And this was an important determination because first they actually investigated. They're not just, because let's face it, sometimes Americans do get arrested abroad because they have drugs. So it's kind of important for the State Department to know which way it is before we say they didn't have drugs and then, they had drugs. So State Department investigated, determined that it was a lie. I think when they said they determined it was a lie, this proved they had some kind of intelligence that they actually had of the Russians. Brittany Griner, we're talking about, who is a famous American basketball star, female, who the Russians kidnapped. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, I hate that. I try to answer someone's question, then I forget my train of thought. I know we're talking about Brittany, but what I was going to say about it. I don't know what I was saying. In any case, they're I'm sorry. The final thing was, State Department. So by determining that, in fact, this is not a case of an American arrested abroad because they used drugs, but rather a case of an American kidnapped abroad by a foreign power, this went to an entirely different part of the State Department. It is, and frankly, elevates it much higher because now you're literally dealing with people who are kidnapped by governments and not people who were kind of dumb taking drugs into foreign countries. So that's the deal. They grabbed her at the airport. So, all right, let me see here. Thank you. I saw that heart. Who was that? Grandma. Thank you. I saw that out of the corner of my eye as I'm just scrolling there. In progress. I'm going to guess you meant to put a question. There you go. Yeah, of course, your question didn't work. I know, I just saw that. That's okay. Just put your question anyway. You don't have to buy another one. I've gotten to understand when people put these things like what were intended to be questions. That's okay. No, write it anyway. That's okay. Just write it as a regular question. If I don't see it, exactly. What just what Syndicate said. If I don't see it, they can point it out to me. I'm going to put Harvey's question up in the meantime. Just write it up as a regular question. I appreciate you doing that. Harvey, so now I don't know what to use because Harvey's using the Sievero for Sievero-Donetsk. So I'm going to say Sievero-Donetsk, that town in the Far East they're fighting over that now I no longer know how to pronounce, is reporting that Russia's has been firing on the chemical plants, correct? Because what they're fighting over right now is the industrial area. In principle, we keep hearing the Russians have taken over the civilian part of the city, but the industrial part, which maybe is a third or whatever, the commercial part, but industry has not been taken over, is still being fought after. And I was reading the last couple of days about the Russians firing on the chemical plants. And looking back to the beginning of the war when the Russians were attacking nuclear sites, could this be a breach of the Geneva Protocol? Oh, that's it. Well, okay. I mean, it's a war crime. It is a war crime. I don't know which, whether it's Geneva or what, but if you are intentionally blowing up chemical plants, thank you, Kanausi, intending to poison the population, that is chemical warfare. And that is a war crime. Yes. So, yeah, it would be. But what is bothering me with this is we've gotten to the point, and honestly, I will say this, and I'm not trying to piss off the Trump supporters here, but Trump was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't really cool. And he kind of got away with it in large part because every day there were either 10 new things, at least 10 new things that were outrageous. Maybe not illegal, but 10 new things that were outrageous. And there were so many outrageous things that you kind of end up not getting held responsible for any of them. And I feel like that's the same thing. And again, I'm not comparing Trump to the Russian war crimes. They're not the same. I get that. But that there have been so many war crimes at this point, not just by Russia over the years, and Reality Check makes a good point. It's the Russian playbook, so they've done it in other wars, but that they've done it so much in Ukraine alone that I don't even know where to begin, right? Just like we said, just sentencing these foreign-born members of the Ukrainian army to death is a war crime, right? Everything's a freaking war crime these people do. Like I said, like attacking these chemical plants, probably a war crime. It just doesn't stop with them. And it worries me because I worry to some degree that sort of the international community is going to kind of be doing that too. Like, let's just wrap up the war. That's good. No, mind you, that's going to be a huge problem at the end of the war. What do we do at the end of this war when, let's say, there is some kind of peace treaty that can be reached? What do you do about all the war crimes? You don't just wipe them away. We can't. I mean, Russia agrees to give the land back. Thank you, Kanausi. Russia agrees to give all the land back, and we agree not to hold them accountable for genocide. I mean, right? It's like World War II. Thank you, Lamp Chops. If he gives up Paris, we won't hold him accountable for killing 6 million Jews. Really? I mean, yeah. Sorry, of course, knocking something at my teeth too. 1 second. Excuse me. Brian Hetfield, with France and Germany showing weakness and unwilling to help Ukraine. Oops, sorry, highlight this. Unwilling to help. I mean, they go back and forth. I don't want to overstate it. Obviously, Germany's helped, France has helped, but they keep playing games. Is this a sign Europe is weak and China can go for Taiwan with only the U.S. in the way? I don't think so. No, the only reason I don't think so is as I said, there have been problems, but NATO still punched Putin in the nose with our response. Not NATO. I mean, I should say the world did, but it certainly was NATO in particular. And even Germany. Germany's done a lot of good stuff. Even as I said today, there's two other weapon systems supposedly going over. France has sent a lot too, but there's been duplicity as well, to use not a Botter's word. But if I were China looking at this, I would be saying, oh my God, the entire world did something unimaginable. They all came together and said, don't you dare. And then they basically reinvented World War II and became the arsenal of democracy, or whatever you want to call it, of freedom for Ukraine. And the other lesson is, as the war went on, we actually started doing more and more. Granted, there were fissures in the alliance, but the U.S. especially, not the U.S. especially. I look at it because I look at Biden and how in the beginning, I think Biden was more worried than he was at the very beginning than he is now. But we were being way more careful at the beginning about not giving Ukraine too many weapons. And the weapon systems we've been giving them have been getting better and better as time goes on, which is great. And if anything, again, the lesson you take from that is, not only did the world unite and did NATO unite and start providing weapons that really caused the Russians problems, but as time went on, even if there were fissures, NATO kept providing better and better and better weapons. And the sanctions as well. I'm sorry, Palpatine raised the point too. I didn't even mention. It says the sanctions against China would crush them. Even more correct. Somebody, one of the first days we were doing this, had chimed in and said they were raised in China. And because we're talking about all of this in terms of will China help and all of that, Russia. And their point was, China makes decisions based on their economy. That is the number one thing, is what impact it has on their economy. Economic growth is the most important thing for them. And this person's point was, in the end, if it comes down to helping Russia and pissing off the European Union and the United States, who are way bigger trading partners, China's going with the bigger trading partners. And the same thing here in terms of China, like Palpatine said, China looking at these sanctions and going, these are unheard of sanctions that we put against Russia. Now, you can debate not how much damage, but obviously it takes time to create enough damage. Russia's economy much more insulated from the world. I couldn't, other than maybe vodka, and that's questionable whether we even import Russian vodka anymore because a lot of it's now made abroad, not in Russia. Maybe caviar, that I would never buy Russian caviar because I don't buy caviar, and it's too expensive. I can't think of a single thing in America that we import from Russia. There must be organized crime, but beyond that, I can't think. If there is, it's very small. Whereas China, every freaking thing in the store is made in China as far as hard goods. When you go to the I'm not even sure what you'd call it. What would it be like? I'm forgetting what we even call them here. The other stores, like not a drugstore, but those other stores that were like usually with a drugstore, they got all the other stuff they sell. And every single thing there is made in China. Every single thing is made in China. So we are a huge market, and Europe's a huge market for them. And it would hurt us too, because our prices would go up. Not just Walmart, but I'm saying they're like drugstores in essence. It's like CVS, CV as in Victor, S here in the States. I'm not sure what we call CVS. Convenience, not a convenience store either, whatever it is. In any case, most of the box stores, most of the clothing there, most of the goods, most of the cheap, hell, my Starbucks mug's probably made in China. Like any kind of coffee mugs, plates, silverware, everything's made in China. Anyway, so the point is, Russia wouldn't have been as impacted as much by the sanctions in some ways because it's less connected to the world. I mean, Russia, as John McCain once said famously, or one of our American senators, Republicans, said famously about Russia, Russia is a gas station with nukes. They're a gasoline station with nuclear weapons. I mean, in other words, all they've got is gas and oil and nukes. That's all they got, so whereas China, way more intricate, way more advanced, way bigger concern. Thank you, Kanausi. Oh, our trolls! I didn't see our trolls visiting us on YouTube. On YouTube, do they make their way in? Oh, anyway, what else we got? We got time. We still got 5-10 minutes here. What else we got here? Well, no, I didn't, James. I didn't even see what the mods wrote over there, or what the mods did, because I didn't even see what the guy wrote. So, I'm happy to give people some leeway. I don't know what happened with the mods over. I mean, I'm saying this just because I also think it's useful for all of you guys. It's not easy to moderate these things because so many bad guys come. I mean, to start with, we get all the Russians, then we get all the SCX bots that come on YouTube. They're crazy, right? Then you get like the political partisans that could come in and, whatever from which side, right? Then we can have the, thank you, Iggy. You get the political parties. Anyway, it's very hard to tell. And then you simply get people who come and they want to be ornery and they just want to disrupt and they want to be jerks and they'll talk about my hair but I mean, I don't mind when you say you like my hair, but you know what I mean? If someone goes, you're ugly or whatever, right? And sometimes it can be hard to tell who is disagreeing and saying, well, that's not true. I disagree, versus somebody who literally wants to come on and just be a jerk about it. You're wrong, you're right. And like by the 10th time they say it. So I don't know what happened here, but sometimes the person can do it in a way that isn't productive. I'll put it that way. And when that happens, I have lovely hair. I wasn't fishing for a compliment, but thank you. But I'm saying that like sometimes people come on and they disagree, but they get sort of irate. And when the irateness comes through, they'll get muted or blocked. And again, if that wasn't what was intended, thank you. I want to be a good man with the goggles. If that wasn't what was intended, then mods, please let this person come back because I did not see anything of what happened. Harvey, Russian parliament petitions to have the Soviet flag. Oh, Jesus Christ. Russian parliament petitions to have the Soviet flag made an official representative of the Russian Federation. Official representative. Oh, you mean represent the Russian Federation. Plus predictions to rename cities back to old Soviet names. Long shot, but could there be some propaganda plan behind this? Okay, Harvey, that wasn't a complete sentence. So now I'm not sure. Are you saying they are bringing the Soviet flag back? Or are you saying, could I see it happening? Is that what you're saying? And the renaming the cities? I'm guessing. Thank you, Dragana. I appreciate it. We can talk about my allergies in a minute. They're getting there. They're not quite there yet, unfortunately. But we can talk about that in like 5 minutes. We'll do our hangout period, and we can get into all my horrible allergies. So Harvey, write a follow up to that. Obviously, don't pay for it, but I'm not quite understanding if you're saying they are doing some of this, or could you see them doing it? Write that, and then I'll answer. Because if I answer too quickly, then. Well, no, it's only, I don't understand what he's saying. It's an interesting point because absolutely, they've already brought the Soviet flag back. They keep using it for all of their, anniversary of beating the Enzis stuff and using the Soviet flag. It's obnoxious. And it's all tied into this whole weird, thank you, Alicia. Is Alicia? I didn't say, wait, Alicia I saw. It is Alicia. Okay, Alicia. For me, it harkens back to the whole thing with Putin saying he wants to be Peter the Great, the Tsar. And I think he wants Russia to be the Soviet Union. And they're using the flag, why they want it to be the Soviet Union again is because we were strong back then. The world respected us, right? Our military didn't fall apart. America was afraid of us. All this garbage, so that bringing the Soviet flag back is just buying into all of that. It's all the scary stuff. We took on the world and we won, and this kind of BS. So no, it worries the hell out of me. And I wouldn't be surprised if they yeah, exactly. St. Petersburg gets interesting because it's a czar and it plays into Putin's czar thing. He may not want to get rid of Peter. To him, probably Peter's worth more than Lenin right now, right? But they do put the crazy Lenin statues back up. Lenin, freaking Lenin. I mean, the man ushered in like the worst dictatorship possibly in the history of the world, or one of them certainly, but the most deadly, or one of the most deadly. And like, are you kidding me? Like, that's the guy you're going to revere and you want to bring back? Thank you, BTV mom. Okay, so here's what Harvey was saying. Thank you, Harvey. You didn't have to contribute again, but thank you, Harvey. The Russian head of the Duma is petitioning for both of those things. Oh, wow, long shot. But could Putin be planning some terrifying nostalgia? Yeah, there you go. That's what I was thinking. That's what you were getting at. Yeah. No, they're bringing the band back. I think he's absolutely bringing. He already is, right? He wants. I think, and actually, he's kind of getting his way with NATO in a way. I mean, I don't think he wanted NATO to do everything everything we've done to go after him in terms of how much we've helped Ukraine, but he wanted NATO. I keep sort of revising my theory on this as time goes on. Putin wanted NATO to be in the war in some way. And we knew that from the beginning, right? We were like, well, Putin wants it to be about NATO, but at the same time, Putin doesn't want NATO to actually enter the war because he can't beat Ukraine practically at this point. I mean, it's whatever you want to call it. He's not winning. He's not losing, but he's not winning. He is losing in the sense that supposedly he was the second biggest army in the world and the Ukrainians, routed him. So he sure as hell doesn't want to take on NATO. So why would he want it to be him versus NATO? I think he wants it to be Russia versus NATO in name only. We keep using that phrase today in terms of the public perception. So it is NATO providing weapons to Ukraine, right? But it's not NATO fighting, because if it was, Russia would lose. So this way he can show the great Russian people. He wants NATO to be the big enemy because you rally the troops, you rally the public. And again, Soviet Union. I remember the Soviets. I don't like Russia. I remember the Soviets. And to me, Russia is simply an offshoot of the Soviet Union. And sadly, they had a chance for 10 years and they botched it. And now they're back to the Soviet days. And you better believe they remember those days too. And back then, they got a hell of a lot of propaganda about how evil and dangerous the West was and we were all going to nuke them. And they're doing it again, I'm sure. Yeah, Aaron, I talked about the ammunition thing earlier tonight. Wait, I don't know how long they got the ammunition, but it's bad. Yeah, the Ukrainians are in bad shape on the ammunition front, and they're having to not triage, ration out their ammunition they've got. It's bad. All right. Let me take maybe one more question and then go, guys. Not go. I'll hang out with you, but we'll sort of leave it at that. Oh, didn't see that. Okay. Oh, Marion, didn't see yours. You slipped that in when I was answering Harvey's, I'm guessing. Hang on. Key question for NATO is how to deal with, and I'm going to put my fan back on again so you guys can drink over on TikTok because my apartment goes hot and cold, drives me bonkers. All right, that should help. Key question for NATO is how to deal with likely Russian military buildup to follow, right? Meaning Russia saying now we need to increase our defense spending. Whether Russia wins, loses, or settles, or you mean regardless of whether Russia wins, loses, or settles? Correct. A settlement needs to deal with this somehow. Ha ha ha. Good luck with that. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that too, but good luck with that. I mean, you you would need to have a settlement of this war. First of all, have Russia be beaten so badly, A, and B, thank you for that, Kanowski. A, have Russia beaten so badly. B, putting aside for the fact that, even Biden doesn't want Russia beat badly, or he's worried about it, so that Russia has no choice but to agree to constraints on its own military going forward, or military spending, or whatever. I don't think Russia's ever going to, do you think Russia would ever agree? Marion, I always tell you folks, Marion did my graduate degree with me at Georgetown, this joint degree of Master's of International Relations and the law degree at Georgetown. And Marion knows her Russian law especially, but also expert on all things Russia and foreign policy as well. But do you actually see, I'll put this to the rest of, actually, this could be our last question because it's an interesting question. Do any of you really see a situation where Putin or Russia would agree to constraints on its military, constraints on its military spending, something? I just don't see it happening. They would have to lose so badly. And even if they do, they're still a nuclear country and we're not going to invade and take over. Somebody made a good point to me the other day where, World War II, we invaded Germany, Italy, and Japan. We helped set up new governments and stuff. I don't see how you can pull it off with Russia. You weigh in too, Marion. You don't have to pay for it. But I'm curious, something along the lines of non-proliferation. Well, that's what I was thinking, depending what you mean by that, I was thinking it's almost like the START treaty, but instead of nuclear weapons, is it for, conventional weapon? Well, that was the CFE treaty, I guess, right? Wasn't it when we were kids? Conventional Forces in Europe treaty. Well, now you could look at it as, here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. If you were to do a conventional forces treaty, for example, you could do it for Europe, maybe, but America wouldn't want to be involved in that because we've got to worry about, those guys that start with a C, among other people, right? We're not just, back in the day, we were worried about Russia and war in Europe, Whereas now, thank you, Kanowski. I saw that. Whereas now we're worried about a lot of other places around the globe, including the big C. So we wouldn't want to constrain ourselves to the degree we want to constrain Putin. But I think we're in for another Cold War unless this guy goes away. And even if he goes away, who knows? But we're in for another Cold War. The good thing is the country is, not the best. Russia's not exactly CH, not Canada or Colombia. I'm trying not to use the name too much because I'm still convinced the algorithm finds out and docks me for it. Need to think through, otherwise no lasting peace. Well, that's the problem. He's going to come back. Putin's going to come back. Russia's going to come back. No matter what happens. And that is a World War I lesson. It's not a World War I lesson. It's a flashback to World War I because Russia's not coming back because we're winning. Russia's coming back because they're bad guys and they're back. They're the vampire who's going to come back. That's why Russia's coming back and going to have another war. If Russia wins, there will be another war. If Russia loses, there will be another war. There's no way. And right? There's no way to give Russia enough that there isn't another war. Why? How would he not? We're dealing with the Soviets, I think, all over again. Again, I'll have this be the last question if anybody wants to just kind of weigh in. Additionally, and I'll highlight what Texas Stock, I agree. It's because of all of this I found out about what's inside Russia, and I was shocked. Ronald Reagan said it best: Russia's an empire of evil. I will say, again, I was always sort of got a chuckle the last decade or two when I would talk to younger liberals, Democrats. Up in progress, you did it again. If that was supposed to be a question, feel free to put the question down. I've never actually bought one, so I don't know how difficult it is, but you're not the only one to have this problem. So clearly it's not as easy as it needs to be. But younger people would sort of go off on me about the whole Russia, the whole Soviet thing, and how, you people and me, Russia's not the Soviet Union and me. And now I'm like, well, got news for you now. Got news for you now. We've got the Soviet Union back. So, all right, let's end it with this stuff and do our Q&A thing. All right, guys. Let's hang out a little bit, as always. Unless I missed anything really glaring here, let me know. Oops, let me just see. All right, Harvey. Okay, good. Yeah, we hang for about 5-10 minutes. Go hide, Sky Queen, exactly. Oh, and I'm sorry, but In Progress did have a question that they were trying to do. So In Progress, and I will do the recap. In Progress, feel free to write your question down. That's right. Let me do the recap. Sorry, guys. At the end, we do just sort of quick recap of the news where I don't go into the details, but, remove people for no reason. Yeah, I don't. Well, again, I'll talk to the mods afterwards. We'll see. I just, we want to. I definitely want to. I always want us to limit removing people. I've always said that. I want to keep it to a minimum unless they're obvious, like the Russians, meaning the bad Russians get removed, obviously, per se. That's one of my rules. Anybody who's here just to cause trouble, but it has to be obvious you're removed. If you just disagree with me, I'm okay with that. If you disagree and you're being a jerk, that's a different question, I mean, for example, and you can kind of tell, the thing is, I've been monitoring online communities. I'll do the recap, don't worry, since 1998 was the first time I had to monitor an online community or moderate an online community. And you do develop a nose for it, certainly after 25 years, for who's going to be bad and crazy and stuff. And it's, for example, I've had people disagree with me. And I had somebody disagree with me on TikTok, actually, in the comments about something I said. But he was really nice. He goes, I disagree with you, but I like what you say, and I agree with you on a lot of stuff too. He even said, he goes, I voted for Reagan or for Trump, but actually I agree with most of what you're saying, and even about the insurrection. And he was really nice, mind you. He said he voted for Trump, and he was really nice about it, and said, but I agree with most of what you're saying, and I agree the insurrection, those guys should be in jail. And rather than somebody coming, I voted for Trump, and you're wrong, and you're just another stupid liberal, all of a sudden now it's clear the person isn't disagreeing with the fact that I said that, Zelensky did blah, blah. They're making it personal. They're being a jerk. And that's the difference. So I don't know what happened there, but I always like to kind of put that out there, but also for the mods too. And the mods know, we talk. They know what I want, that, we want to keep it to jerks. And guess what? It ain't always easy to figure out who a jerk is. It ain't easy. Which is also why I say in the end, if we block somebody who wants to come back and says, I wasn't really a jerk, we let him back in. That's my number one rule. Absolutely. I always let people back in, because also people who want to come, actually, this is also a lesson just in general for you folks, if you ever deal with this. People who want to come back on tend to be people who weren't jerks and you made a mistake, or they didn't mean to be jerks. I have found, I can't think of anybody I brought back on who said, can I please come on, again, or whatever, who actually was a jerk when they came back on, which also then made me wonder, like, whether I bought out the wrong person. But, you got to keep it flowing. All right, the recap. So Macron, Scholz, and Draghi, the leaders of France, Germany, and Italy, are off to Ukraine right before the NATO summit at the end of this month. It looks like the Germans may have just killed a Spanish deal to send German Leopard tanks to Ukraine. Good news from Germany. They are going to be sending a missile system that is akin to the U.S., comparable to the U.S.-made Patriot missile system to Ukraine, but it won't arrive till October. But the Ukrainian ambassador said that's actually understandable because it's a system that's still being produced. So even the Ukrainian ambassador said, thank you, Flower Lady. Even the Ukrainian ambassador said that's okay. The delay wasn't Germany's fault. The Ukrainian ambassador also says that the Germans are sending 7 self-propelled howitzer artillery pieces to Ukraine in about 11 days. That's good. There was a very weird diplomatic blow-up today that I think Biden could have avoided. Biden said today at a fundraiser, a Democratic fundraiser that was private, but of course it got out because you have to assume it'll get out, that Zelensky brushed off warnings of Russia's invasion and that Biden warned him, thank you, Scholz, that Biden warned him and Zelensky didn't listen. And, again, we seem to have a disagreement on whether that's true or not, but I think it was idiotic of Biden to say that, because it was simply inviting a fight with the Ukrainians right now. That why the hell are we arguing over that right now? We should be talking about how to get Ukraine enough artillery, not about, thank you, Flower Lady, not about, well, did Zelensky do what he should have done at the beginning? That's like something a Russian would want us to talk about. Ukraine is really behind on artillery, as we just discussed. I was mentioning how the Russians are firing like 50,000 artillery rounds a day versus Ukraine's 5,000. On the various fronts, however that town is pronounced in eastern Ukraine, whatever it is, Severodonetsk, whatever, however it's pronounced, there's a third of it is still under control by the Ukrainians, we hope, according to the mayor. The Russians control about 2/3. It looks like the Russians control the civilian part, and the industrial part is still being fought over. In Kharkiv, in the northeast, very northeast, right by Russia, no signs of any new developments. Kherson, which is further down, I want to keep bringing the map up, but Kherson, which is down here, the Russians are digging in more and more, basically preparing to annex the region. Much of that region, the Russians are going to pretty clearly now. They're also offering, I didn't get into the passport thing, they're also offering Russian passports now to people, and may start to force people to get Russian passports and turn in their Ukrainian one, possibly in order to work, in order to do other things, to live, go to the store, who knows, right? But the Russians are digging in order to annex and make those territories part of Russia, in essence, at least according to them. The UN commission, or I should say a UN commission, arrived in Ukraine to investigate war crimes. That's good. European Union membership, an opinion from the EU should come out next week. So we'll all be looking forward to that, or not. There's lots of evidence, or growing evidence, of problems with Russian troops, which is great. I'm not even getting into the details, because like I said, this is a recap. So growing evidence of problems with Russian troops, from morale to the Russians having to force people to fight who didn't even agree to fight. I will tell that one real quick. They hired some guys through a private company who were hired to provide security. So they were like hired as security guards, and the Russians sent these guys to the front of the war. Unbelievable what the Russians did to these guys. So yeah, not good. Not good news. Anyway, all right, guys. So anyway, let's hang. Otherwise, what else? Well, no, I mean, James, the thing is, okay, I don't want to talk too much substance, but I'll talk about this. The thing is, I mean, James said maybe Biden, Biden was trying to take credit, and there's nothing wrong with trying to take credit. Biden needs to take credit, and he needs to take credit better. For example, Biden, we will, typically we start 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, typically. Today was off because we were doing a panel with Yulia, but normally we do 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday. But no matter what, I announce it the day before, and you will always find it on TikTok. You will always find the next live on my TikTok homepage, okay? You will always find that. So go to my TikTok profile, and you will see when I get done with the show, I'll set up the next one, but the next one that's upcoming will be there. So don't assume the time. Just go to my profile, look, and you'll go, okay, that's the time it is. And YouTube, the same thing. I will set it up, and you'll always see the next one on my YouTube, page. So not a problem. No, but I think, look, Biden doesn't take credit enough of things. I mean, for example, I was talking with friends about this the other month. I forgot that there were 2 stimulus checks under Biden, 2 economic stimulus checks. I had no idea, because guess what? Biden, the Democrats don't talk about it. Biden had a huge infrastructure bill. He never talks about it. I mean, Republicans are amazing at marketing. Democrats suck at marketing, And some people say Republicans lie when they market. That's not really the point. They're marketing a lie. I mean, whether it's a lie or not, the point is it's not succeeding because it's a lie. It's succeeding because they know how to market it. They know how to come up with the phrases and all this, the cute phrases and all this kind of stuff. You can do the same thing with the truth, and Democrats don't do that. So I'm glad Biden's taking credit, but not credit for that, for saying, Zelensky was a putz. That's not what you should be taking credit for. That's ridiculous. Take credit for helping get the United States came back from where we were 4 years ago, and we're back on the international scene. We're back to being the leader of the world, doing what other countries can't, marshaling Europe to Asia against evil. I mean, right? I mean, not trying to offend any of you, but this is the language you would use. You don't say, and that Zelensky guy, what a pushover. I told him, he didn't listen. What are you doing? Yeah, ugh. No, but yeah, Biden, huge infrastructure bill. They never talk about it. Democrats are terrible. They're just terrible at this shit. It's really annoying. In any case, what else? Oh yeah. Anyway, so was it Dragana? My asthma's improved, but it's still not great. I mean, I'm on Advair 500, and the doctor gave me the those steroid packs, Modus or whatever it's called, modal pack, whatever. That's like the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 steroids. So I've been doing that all week, but honestly, it's improved, but it's not great. I mean, I was out today doing, some shopping, and once again, I'm talking to you guys and I'm like, it's better than it was, but it's not great. But I'm on the Advair, and hopefully the Advair that's how it tapers. Correct. It tapers over, but I'm already on my last pill today, I think. So I'm done. So it's a little scary. I'll check in it's okay, but I'll check in with the doctor again. Hey, music girl, thank you. And the Advair, we've only started it 4 or 5 days ago. So thank you, music girl. So it's gotta, it can take a week or a week and a half to move in. I've been taking allergy shots for 15 years. I'm taking them. Medrol pack. Yeah. Didn't do enough though. It helped, but it didn't clear it up and boom, we're done. It didn't do that. So, and I don't want to be doing too many of those steroid packs because I know, rinse the mouth after Advair. I had to buy the alcoholic mouthwash again. I avoid the alcoholic ones, but Dragana, there is something wrong with, it's not even that. Thank you, Eric. There's something wrong with Democrats. Sorry, real quick. Is this true? Somebody says they work 7 to 10 days after you finish the packs. Is that true though? For the steroids, I would figure the steroids immediate. Is it actually a ongoing thingy? Because it was definitely improved the first day or two, although I had some, but now I'm back to feeling kind of, pretty much I want to use my inhaler again, which I will, but it's annoying me. And I'm on the 500, but the 500 can take a week to a week and a half to kick in, and it's only been probably 4 days. So he's going to probably have to add a Symbicort. We've done Symbicort before. I may even send him a note. I'm always contacting him on the weekends, but I may send him a note and tell him we're going to add a Symbicort to discuss my allergies with you guys. But I've done Advair and Symbicort before, and it was very good combined. We would combine them actually. But anyway, as for Democrats, the problem is Democrats don't want to hire better PR people. That's the problem. It's not Democrats by PR. I mean, public relations. It's not Democrats need better. They do need better public relations people, but they need to understand that they need better. I don't think Democrats understand how lousy they are at messaging, so they never want to fix it. And actually, that's a good point too. Goofy is saying Democrats by nature are not aggressive. That is a huge part of the problem. And what it means is Republicans will attack, and Democrats, you'll propose a similar thing to a Democrat and they'll go, that's mean. That's the first problem. The second problem is heart rate I can check, but where is this? I'll even show you guys. See, I've got it handy. You guys had told me, keep checking your blood oxygen, and I do. The oxygen's been fine, so that's been good. It's just been, annoying, the breathing. In any case, the Democrats, what was I saying about the Democrats thing? They're timid. They're timid so that there's this one thing about them. I'm taking this thing out now. There's this one thing about them where they don't want to attack because they think attacking is mean. And the other thing is they're always worried about the next election. So one problem we have with Democrats is in the US, we have a federal election every 2 years. The presidential is every 4 years. And in Congress, It depends on the House. I don't want to go through it now, but we have a congressional election every 2 years as well. So every time we go through one election, Democrats then worry about the next election. And the Democrats, so literally the election's in November, January will come and we'll be like, okay, let's fight hard. And Democrats will go, ooh, but we've got the next election in a year and a half. We've got to be cautious. And we're like, there's always a next election in a year and a half, but you get that 98%. Okay, see, this is not an oxygen problem. Anyway, now that we've diagnosed me on camera, not an oxygen problem, which is good, 98%. It's just, this problem. Anyway, it's annoying. But yeah, they're timid, and the timidity drives me freaking crazy, and I don't know what it is. So makes me sad, trust me. And now I'm getting cold again for whoever does the drinks, the shots on I was saying, I wish to God I'd set up my my air conditioning heating broke a few years ago, and I had insurance for it. So I used the insurance, which helped because they paid most of it. But the problem is they've got the newer systems, apparently. YouTube MD. It'll be the new TV show. Actually, it'll be our new YouTube channel, YouTube MD. Wow. The Sasha Doctor Network. Wow. Every time I go on a tangent, I will forget what I'm talking about. It's a guarantee. Thank you, Melissa, for that. Absolutely guarantee that I will forget what I'm talking about every time there's a tangent. Too funny. Absolutely too funny. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm going to do my inhaler again when we're done, and I'm going to write the doctor again. Oops. Now that I say this, where did I even? I'm trying to even see where I even put my inhaler. Oh, here it is. It's in my pocket. So anyway. All right. So I'm writing little messages to people messaging me. What are the thoughts on French bulldogs? I love French bulldogs. Oh my God, they're the sweetest things. They have a hard time breathing, but I mean, oh my God, the sweetest animals. French bulldogs remind me of pit bulls in terms of exact same personality. They come up to you and the butt goes and they just want to love you. And I love that. And pitties, ironically, because I meet so many dogs and so many pit bulls here in DC. Yeah, crazy. The midterms are this year, but not August. They're 2022, November. Yep, this year in November. Oh, see? You guys called for it. That was, hello, you. She literally came to the door. I always laugh because, like, for you guys especially to see this, she's in the doorway looking at us here. Sasha, what are you doing? I'm assuming you can see. Hang on a second. I will grab Sasha, give her a treat. Yes, you get a treat. But then you got to say hi to folks if I give you, yes. Okay. But then you got to say hi to folks if I give you one. You know that. All right. We'll get two. Let's get two here. And then you can. Actually, I'm going to break this. We'll do 4. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Let's do this here. No, I got that. Don't worry. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's do this. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, there you go. Oh, we'll move Jennifer's question so you guys can see Sasha. All right. Give me her 4 little bits here today, so at least there's a chance you can see her for a minute. She's still gonna want to get down. And should we look up? There you go. Okay. And now we'll have you. Oh, should we look one towards the camera? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, she's trying to get over to it. That's okay. Is that pretty good? We heard a noise outside, and she thought it was thundering earlier, so we had a little bit of an issue, but we're better now. Oops, we're better. Didn't put the thing up. We're better now. Anyway, so yeah, we're probably going to do a watch. We'll probably do a watch party on Sunday. She's 12 and a half. But thank God. Oh, she's got a little bit of water. That's good. But thank God she's hanging in there healthy, But yeah, her hair actually, the longer her hair gets, the nicer it looks. It just gets long. But her hair gets very pretty and wavy. We both have wavy hair. Her hair gets pretty and wavy when it gets longer. She's very pretty. And her head explodes. 16. Wow. Well, knock on wood. So Sunday, yeah, tomorrow we're going to do the same thing. Tomorrow we're going to do 2 p.m. Eastern, again, our usual. So 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Paris, 11 a.m. Pacific. I will set that up as soon as we're done here. And then Monday, we'll probably I'll tell you tomorrow, we'll probably do a watch party for the hearings. The hearings are happening again Monday morning. We might as well. I mean, because I'm going to watch them. I have to watch them anyway, So let's do that. And as I said, once I get off and take my inhaler, we will do this again. And I'll see. I used to have a separator. I'll see if I've got one. I'll use it for my inhaler. It obviously can't hurt. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off so I can go and do my inhaler and also just kind of chill. So see you tomorrow if you join us again. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, moderators. As I say, I appreciate it. It is thankless work, and they're volunteering to do this as well. Keep that in mind as well, which is important because, and it's just not easy to do. It's not easy to discern who are the good guys who are angry and who are the bad guys who are just bad guys. So, yep, John Sarge, thanks. See you guys tomorrow. Okay, see everybody. Oh, thank you, Goofy. All right, see you guys.